Despite South Africa's recent economic troubles, the tourism industry seems to be booming. Government has welcomed recent stats from the tourism satellite account. This shows that tourism is consistently growing the number of jobs in South Africa. The industry continues to make a 3% contribution to our GDP, according to the stats, which of course have been released by Stats SA. Well, for more on this, we're joined in the studio by Shamila Chetia. She's the Deputy Director General from the Department of Tourism. She's there in the department. We're responsible for the policy and knowledge services in regard to tourism. Shamila, good morning. Thank you very much for coming in.
Good morning.
It's good news. It's good to see that there's a nice chunk of contribution by tourism to GDP, and that it is really not going down. Yes. Over time, and also that we're seeing a decent contribution to employment in the tourism sector, and that since 2011 it's been going up.
Yes, that's correct. Tourism currently employs 1 in 24 people in South Africa, and we saw our highest numbers in 2015 of 711,000 people employed by the industry. We've now actually overtaken mining as a sector. Mining, I think, last year contributed just over 500,000 jobs. So tourism continues to grow, and the great news is that our October 2016 numbers were just released yesterday by Stats SA. We are showing from January to October this year 1 million more visitors to South Africa than January to October last year. So this is just before our bumper season, which is now. This is our peak season in tourism. So we're anticipating our 2016 figures to be much higher.
And the more visitors come, the more jobs in the tourism sector are likely to be created.
Correct. So last year, tourism contributed 250 million to the GDP of South Africa. If you look at that number, it's made up by visitors who come from overseas as well as domestic tourists. And it's now globally in the world creating 1 in 11 jobs. So in the world, tourism contributes roughly about 10% to the global GDP of the world. And so that means for South Africa, which is growing at 3%, we still have a lot more growth in our sector. And we're anticipating that the sector can make that total contribution of 10% in the coming years.
Well, it's good news from a tourism perspective. Are we doing the right thing still from a policy perspective?
Yes.
To make sure that we do two things? We sustain this wonderful growth that you're
Yes.
talking about in terms of the industry's contribution to GDP, job creation, attraction of visitors, and grow it even more into the future.
Correct. So we're doing all of the right things. I think that one of the things tourism relies on is ease of travel. And what South Africa has is very good infrastructure. We have world-class airports. We have world-class roads, and that makes it really easy for visitors to travel to our country and around the country. We also have iconic world-class destinations. So we have fantastic World Heritage sites. We have iconic sites like Table Mountain, the Cradle of Humankind, and those attract visitors into our country. What we're working together with the private sector on doing is expanding that tourism offering so that when you visit an iconic site like the Cradle of Humankind, you also visit the Walter Sisulu Botanical Gardens, which is a stone's throw from that, and that you are circulating visitors around destinations.
And that you also end up in Vilakazi Street, maybe in Soweto.
Absolutely.
But I'm glad that we are no longer there. But early in the year, I mean, there was a lot of concern about the Anna Bridge birth certificates for travelers, and we know that that spat that happened between the Minister Derek Honeycomb and Home Affairs Minister Malusi Gigaba, it looks like we are over that now. So the other parts of South Africa playing their part as well to assist you in the tourism industry?
Correct. Our tourism sector is very complex because we impact on a variety of different other sectors. So immigration being one of them, as you've stated, transport being an enabler for our sector. And so it's a very delicate negotiation between ourselves and multiple sectors to make the sector work. We have great collaboration, though, with all of our government partners and our private sector, because I think that we recognize that tourism is very good business for South Africa. And so we work very closely with both our public and private sector partners to make that a reality.
And from a policy perspective, very briefly, do you guys set targets to say if we are currently contributing 3% as tourism to our GDP, is there a number in the future to assist the overall GDP of South Africa? Do you set those kind of targets from a policy perspective?
We do set those targets, and that's set in our national tourism sector strategy, the growth for the entire sector. It also sets ambitious targets, but also plans to deliver on those.
Okay, well, good luck with those plans. So far, it looks like things are working. Yes. The numbers are speaking for themselves.
Yes,
thank you very much. That's Shamila Chetia, the Deputy Director General from the Department of Tourism. A little bit of good news there, Yuveka, in terms of the numbers.
I know.
Looking good. This year's numbers particularly are going to be good once they are confirmed.
In my hometown.
Okay.
My
my
fellow villagers.
Yeah, and you'll be going there very soon. You'll be going down to the coast very soon.
Yeah, get cooking, mother, get cooking. Well, that brings us to our viewer question.